It's the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by Bet365. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up. Choose your offer and find out why it is never ordinary with Bet365. What a weekend for the Rockies at Coors Field. A series win over the red-hot San Diego Padres, and actually a season series win as well. They take 8 games in the victory column against the Padres versus only 5 losses on the season. So that's a pretty cool thing for the Rockies to have. Rockies tend to play really well against good teams. They followed that up with the Padres at home. We had Todd Helton Day at Coors Field on Saturday. We had our amazing takeover with some good fans hanging out with us at the ballpark. Drew Romo made his Major League debut. I know there was a lot of hype around that as well. We're going to get into some of that here in a moment. But what a weekend if you were the Colorado Rockies fan. And to be fair, I think we needed that as Rockies fans. It's not often that we get to go into a weekend of baseball and say, you know what, like, I am pumped and ready to watch some baseball. Not just like go to Coors Field and have a, nice rooftop Coors Light, but go watch the Rockies play baseball. And we had some good baseball over the weekend. So shout out to the Rockies for giving us some of that. But look, before we get started, we've got the goods here. If you're listening at home and not watching, head over to YouTube and watch, because we are going to be unboxing the official Todd Helton Hall of Fame bobblehead. And we got this, the first one was 30,000 fans at the ballpark got this on Saturday in the media and the press box. We all get one as well. So we got to do a little unboxing here. Keel, should we do like this, like on TikTok, they do like the little ASMR thing, where you can hear the rappers?
Sure. I'm not on TikTok, so I would not know, but...
Yeah, that always makes me uncomfortable, so we're not going to do that. I'm just going to rip this thing open. I will say, we're already making a mess here. I try not to break this either. It's pretty cool. They've got the little 17 like number on the back of that. I don't know if you can see that. That's pretty cool. We do have a Todd Helton bobblehead behind us, and I'm going to show that in a moment. This thing is really stuck in here, so this might be one of those things that I kind of have to just blow up in a moment.
You're making a mess, my guy.
Hopefully you don't have to be the one to clean this up, Kale, because I am ripping through this box.
I'm sure
point.
Sure it will be me.
It's been a little humid at the ballpark, so we're just trying. There we go. It was stuck in there. We're gonna say that was the humidity's fault. We're back. It's a Monday morning, guys. All right, this is. Without further ado, drum roll, mess and all, the Todd Helton bobblehead. Was it worth the hype? Was it worth the unveiling? I think so. It's a pretty cool bobblehead. Like I said, we've got the old one up there behind us. I'll bring this guy down. Very similar, but the new one over here has his mouth open. So a little bit of an improvement. A little bit wider stance. Todd Helton actually called it the crab stance, even though he was talking about hitting. So yeah, that's your new bobblehead right there. We're gonna leave these out for the day to cover up the mess that I just made. Do we have a vacuum somewhere in here, Kale? Because we might need one.
Yeah, I'll figure it out after the show. Yeah, that looks cool, and obviously that's his iconic moment as a Rocky.
Let's bring it back a little bit. There we go. Yeah, Todd Helton, ladies and gentlemen, Todd Helton. What a cool moment. A lot of festivities around the ballpark, Coors Field. We had the media that we got to sit down. We got to listen to some of Todd Helton, some of his favorite stories and memories as a Rocky. And we also just kind of got to see a little bit into who Todd Helton is. I think, when people were covering the team, when he was playing, Todd Helton was a pretty quiet guy. He didn't talk to the media a lot. you could tell it definitely is not his most comfortable place to be, is in front of a camera. He is much more comfortable out on the field. And so getting the opportunity to talk to Todd Helton was pretty interesting. But one of the things that came up the most for Todd was his dad. He talked a lot about his dad. And anyone who knows Todd Helton knows that his dad is a big part of who he is as a person. His dad obviously not with him anymore, but he still kind of holds on to the memories of his father as, what kind of helped him get to where he was in his career and made him the player that he was. So we asked Todd Helton about, his relationship with his dad and how much of an influence his dad played on his career. And Cale, do we have that clip ready? Let's hear what Todd Helton had to say about his father and his career.
I am 100% sure he thought I belonged there. He probably thought that after my rookie season. When I was down in the hotel in Cooperstown practicing my speeds for the 40th time, the last time I did, I started thinking about how much this would have meant to my dad. And I broke down and truly got emotional. And it actually scared. I hadn't cried like that in a long time, and it scared me because I couldn't get words out, and I was afraid I was going to get on stage and do the same thing. But I think I just got that good cry out, and I think it took the nerves away for me going out there, and I think I spoke better because of it.
Todd Helton talking about his dad there, really meaningful too, because I think it's, all of these major leaguers, anyone who is at the top of their game, in athletics can speak to someone in their lives. Usually it is someone, for some people it's a group of people, but there's always one person that comes to mind for anyone who's achieved the level of success that someone like Todd Helton has, that helped get them to where they are. And in sports, a lot of times you hear about, dads being the people that kind of the person that helped get them to that point. Sometimes people talk about their mom getting them to that place, or a grandparent or an aunt or an uncle. But for Todd Helton to hear him talk about his dad was pretty cool. And I think it was one of the first questions in the press conference, and he got a little emotional as well talking about that. So a really unique and cool thing for Todd Helton. But we asked Todd, hey, what's next? You're in the Hall of Fame. Obviously, you're retired. He's doing a little bit of coaching in the minors and some player development stuff. But what comes next for Todd Helton in his life? And what does his life look like right now? Well, he kind of gave a little update on where things are going as well. Cale, if we've got that clip.
I'm going to sit in silence for about a good 2 or 3 weeks before I do anything else. I haven't got that far. We have 4 years before my daughter graduates high school, and I think big changes will be made at that point on where we live, what we do, and I'm happy with what I do right now. I mean, I'm not looking for anything else. I play golf, hang out with my friends, I take my kid to school. And I just do regular things, but I live in Tennessee, and in Tennessee, it's a slow pace.
You know what I just realized, Cale, in hearing Todd Helton talk about what he does in his retirement, play golf, hang out with friends, talk a little baseball, I'm sure. He talked about going and picking up his kids. It sounds a lot like what we do here at DNVR. Is that a coincidence?
I think it just means we have set up our lives correctly.
That's what it sounds like to me.
Because that sounds pretty great.
Because we were all out playing golf on Friday and having a good time, hanging out with friends. It sounds like a normal week for us too.
If my job for the rest of my life is to hang out with my friends and talk sports and go golfing every now and then, I think I've done something right.
Yeah, I think you and Todd Helton both. I mean, I don't have the kids. You and I don't have kids in the picture yet, but that'll get added there eventually for me at least, and then I can say I have truly embraced the Todd Helton retirement lifestyle. But good for him, man. I mean, hey, what else are you doing? He did say, a couple times too, that he doesn't watch a lot of baseball anymore. I think that's interesting because I kind of feel that way sometimes when you work so much in sports, and we're on the media side. Obviously, Todd Helton speaking to it from the player's perspective, which is even more so. But when you're so involved in a sport for your job, sometimes when that sport is happening and you're no longer working in that sport, you kind of need a break, and like I think of it kind of like the All-Star game. When the All-Star game comes up, like I would, if you talk to most major leaguers who don't get called to play in the All-Star game, they probably don't watch the All-Star game or the home run derby. Like that's the 3 days out of the season that they are not doing anything baseball related because they're playing and consumed with baseball the entire rest of the year. And when I was covering, Gonzaga, when we were in Spokane, it was the same kind of thing. When I stopped covering Gonzaga and I got to go back and Gonzaga was like playing in the playoffs in March Madness, like I got to watch as a fan for the first time, and it was such a different experience. So, it's interesting hearing Todd Helton talk about like how his relationship with baseball has shifted as he's kind of come into retirement. He did say that he's coaching some of the young guys through the minors. But he said, and I didn't include this in the clips, but he said, he's like, I don't know if I could go out and coach guys at the big league level because he's like, I'm pretty hard on them, in the minors. He's like, but when you're going up, when you're talking to guys who are, making hundreds of millions of dollars nowadays, and they're just celebrities playing in the big leagues now. He's like, I don't think I could talk to them in the way that I talk to the guys playing in the minors. He's like, I'm a pretty tough coach. And, I think I appreciate that because, hey, when you're trying to make a name for yourself in the minors, you got to have those coaches that can hold you accountable. So Todd Helton, he seems to be happy with where he's at right now, and good on him. He's got a house in Colorado and living in Tennessee. I want to give a shout out to the Toyota chat. Will Carpenter jumping in. Happy to see you on the pod, Will. This stat that Will brought up for those listening at home is Will's favorite stat. In his 2000 season, Todd had 697 plate appearances. He took a swing and made no contact against 117 individual pitches, and he saw just over 2,700 total pitches that season. Yeah, well, there are some crazy stats that Todd Helton has put together. I think people forget how incredible of a player Todd Helton was. And I know, and when you hear him like outside of Colorado, because the Rockies didn't have the World Series repertoire that some of the other teams had playing. They had that 2007, obviously, World Series run.
Well, the hard part is he wasn't the best player on that team. Matt Holliday was.
Yeah.
And so, as much as it was later in Todd Helton's career, but the years of him being like Mr. Rocky were kind of not over, but it just different, right? I mean, like Matt Holliday really was the best player on that team, and there was a pretty good pitching staff, and so it's interesting, but like I'm really glad Todd got to do that with him, and he was clutch and an amazing first baseman, obviously. But interesting to think about in retrospect.
But like people forget that he had like 49 home runs on a season. Like he was flirting with a 400 batting average multiple times throughout his career.
It's
like that's insane.
He was like 2004, 2005. I don't know, but there was a season where he was hitting like 390 like well into late July, and people were like, this is insane.
Yeah. That will never happen again, by the way. The average, I was looking this year, and like Major League Baseball average, the average batting average for all across MLB this year is like 247. Like we will never see a player hit a 390 batting average ever again. And if they do, they're going to get a $700 million contract and be called Shohei Ohtani. Like we won't see that again in the major leagues. So people forget, Will, how impressive Todd Helton was as a player. And I appreciate you bringing that up because this is a weekend where I think a lot of people around the big leagues got reminded of how impressive Todd Helton and his resume was. We have clips of Todd Helton speaking throughout the rest of this podcast. We are celebrating Todd Helton here, for our entire podcast. It is Todd Helton week in our hearts here at DNVR. But before we continue, I want to give a shout out to our friends over at UC Health, because it's football season. We can officially say that now. And here in Colorado, football season, although you might not root for the Buffs, whether you root for them or not, football season is synonymous with Coach Prime, whether you like it or not. That's going to be the conversations happening around the Colorado football world here. Him and Bo Nix, they are leading the headlines right now for Colorado fans. But hey, Coach Prime, he wants to help you and other Coloradans live your healthiest selves through the new Ready, Set, Co. Initiative for UC Health. And Coach Prime, he's the new Chief Motivation Officer with UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge. The goal is to get Coloradans back to their rightful place as the healthiest state in the country, which I've said it every time I've talked about UC Health. I'm always surprised that we are not the healthiest state because Coloradans are so healthy to begin with. But look, it's almost a new year. We're getting close to fall. December and January, just a few months away, which is crazy to think about. And why wait until the new year to start living those healthy mindsets? Get into that healthy lifestyle right now by kind of using a combination of nutrition, physical health, and mental health, kind of, hitting all three of those top mindsets to help get yourself to the best possible version of yourself. If you want to join UC Health's Ready, Set, Co Challenge, click the link in the show notes of this podcast or go to uchealth.org/readysetco, spelled CO, and make a difference in your own life. Also, we always have to recognize one of our favorite sponsors. It is Toyota. Toyota is the best vehicle on the market right now, and Toyota is the official vehicle of DNVR. They have the best lineup of cars. They have off-road cars, four-wheel drive, hybrids. They've got SUVs. They've got sleek sedans. They've got everything you could ever ask for, and they have a history of high-quality vehicles to back up any of their great offers. They've got great trucks. I don't talk a lot about trucks on this podcast because my favorites are the SUVs, but Toyota has a phenomenal lineup of trucks. That is in Toyota's DNA to have trucks. For generations, Toyota has built durable trucks destined for greatness, and they're perfect for Colorado. What's better in Colorado than driving around a nice truck? So whether you're conquering the off-road trails or hauling the weight of the world, there's a Toyota truck that's just right for you, like the all-new 2024 Toyota Tacoma. They've also got the return of the iconic Toyota 2024 Land Cruiser. But if you're not into the trucks, I love trucks, but I'm, like I said, into the SUVs. They've got tons of great SUVs like the Highlander, the RAV4, so many amazing vehicles. So head over to your Front Range Toyota stores at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota Arapahoe in Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota is the official vehicle of the Rockies and of DNVR. Well, getting back to our Todd Helton celebrations, Todd Helton was asked to share some of the stuff that was happening in Cooperstown, because this is only the second time we've seen a Colorado Rocky make it into the Hall of Fame, Larry Walker being the first. So Todd Helton, this is kind of a new experience for Rockies fans. So we asked, what was it like in Cooperstown? Give us some stories of what the experience was. So Todd Helton had a pretty good story about his time and experience, and kind of the emotions that were brought in when he finally realized what was happening in his name going into the history books in Cooperstown. Let's play that clip.
I got to sit out there, and Larry and I spoke for a good 15, 20 minutes. And Larry was so gracious to me. He helped me. His wife absolutely helped my wife get prepared for what we were going through. So Larry and I spent some time out there just telling stories. He's been in the Hall of Fame 4 years. I had been in 4 minutes, and so he just kind of helped me prepare me for what was coming. In that same 30, 45 minutes, there's a balcony that comes off the Otesaga, and I get a whistle, Helton, and it was Johnny Bench, right? So I run up the stairs as fast as I can, which I haven't run upstairs in about 10 years, and sit down, scared to death, because I had been warned about the Johnny Bench talk. And I'm not going to say everything he said, but I'll tell you what he ended with. He said, son, you are now a part of the greatest fraternity in the world. And I got goosebumps, tears came to my eyes, but I didn't want to cry in front of Johnny Bench. So to me, that was my most cherished moment, was sitting there looking out into the beautiful night, sun going down, and having him say that to me was one of the best days of my life.
What a baller story. Like Todd Helton sitting there with Johnny Bench, and Johnny Bench saying, welcome to the club, bro. Like you did it. Like I know Todd Helton has had a pretty decent life throughout his career. A lot of cool moments, but that has to be ranking up pretty high for him.
And going right from hanging out, getting drinks with Larry Walker to that moment. What a night.
I know. I'm sure he could name drop a few more Hall of Famers that were out there with him as well. But after that, we got to finally see Todd Helton's plaque. We got to see his face enshrined on the plaque. It had a really cool little like blurb about him as a player, and so we asked him, hey Todd, what do you think of this plaque? What do you think, first of all, of how you look, and then also of the words and how, I don't know who writes those. I think I'm assuming someone through the National Baseball Hall of Fame writes the blurb underneath, but we asked what his thoughts were on that, and this is what he said to that.
I thought it made me look kind of burly, which I enjoyed. It could have went the other way, and I wouldn't have enjoyed that too much. I like how just if you look at the first sentence, who blended plate discipline with elite contact skills. For me, that's what I felt I was. I wasn't a home run hitter. I was a doubles hitter. I was a guy who could fight off bad pitches when I wanted to, a guy who knew the strike zone, and never, I don't say never because I did, but mostly did not try to do too much with the ball. I was probably, and like I said, I don't watch too much baseball anymore, but at 2 strikes, I would spread out, and we'd call people in the clubhouse and stuff would call it I'd get in a crab stance, and I'd be so spread out, and all I was worried about was using my hands. And why I started doing that was is because as a kid, every day, our first warm up to get started would be spreading out and using your hands. And so at one point, I was struggling really bad. 02, I was in panic mode, and for some reason, I just went back to what I did when I was 12 years old.
Yeah. So this is the crab stance. I mean, obviously, he's not hitting here, but get a little bit more spread out, low in your stance, and poke the ball the other way, or in Todd Helton's case, hit the ball 450 feet, out to left field. So. Yeah, Todd Helton was a sight to see when he was playing. I've told you guys plenty of times before, I didn't grow up in Colorado, but I've watched Todd Helton play plenty of times. Grew up a National League West fan, on the West Coast, watching a lot of Giants games, Giants against the Rockies plenty of times, and Todd Helton was a menace. And so much fun to watch, and also fun to see a guy who is so big, like a big poppy type of body. And Kayla, you were just talking about that for a moment, but to be able to have kind of hit almost like small ball mentality where, you get 2 strikes and you go into that crab stance, you go into just get on base mode. You don't see that from big guys anymore. Like what you see Giancarlo Stanton shorten up and poke the ball the other way. Like that's not a thing anymore. And he still was doing that late into his career, even after he like you said, kind of gave up on the cardio and
towards the latter half of his career, kind of gave up on the cardio aspect of the game. But he was still hitting 40 dingers a year, so it didn't matter.
It did not matter. Hey, if it works, it works. Keep doing it. Well, speaking of trying to find a groove, got to talk about the Rockies' new and upcoming debut of Drew Romo. Big day for the Rockies' young catcher. Drew Romo getting called up from Albuquerque. As we heard last week, Elias Diaz got unconditionally released, so he is no longer with the squad on the Rockies. It is now Jacob Stallings and new catcher Drew Romo making his major league debut on Saturday. Talk about a huge and a stressful situation to get thrown into the middle to. It's Todd Helton Day, first of all. Probably the biggest game of the year for the Colorado Rockies organization from an organizational standpoint. There's 50,000 people in the stands. You are being called up and you're having to catch for Kyle Freeland, who is one of the best pitchers that the Rockies have seen in the last few years. And you're playing the San Diego Padres, probably the hottest team in baseball. They had won 20 of 24 games going into that game. Like, welcome to the big leagues, Drew Romo. I talked to him before the game, and he was all smiles and had a great head on his shoulders. But you could tell, it was a holy shit, dude. These lights are very bright kind of moment. And you've waited your entire life for this moment as a kid. I mean, I was a baseball player growing up, never to that level. But you have moments when you're a kid of imagining what that moment would look like, and then that finally shows up, and that's the environment that you get thrown into the middle to. Good on Drew Romo for having a good head on his shoulders and not kind of succumbing to the fear of and anxiety of that moment, and just going out there and trying to put out a good first showing. Unfortunately, it wasn't the best first showing in his eyes. Look, it's the first game. He went 0 for 4. There were a couple good. He got contact on the ball. There were a couple, good moments defensively for him, but he did get his first technically caught stealing, although it was really a base running error. I don't remember who it was, but he ended up throwing down to second base, and the runner kind of got stuck in between second and third, not really realizing where he was going. Ended up getting credited for the caught stealing, so that was pretty cool. I know Drew Romo, he said that his family was flying in from all over. He is from California, so I'm sure a lot of family coming in from California. But look, you get that out of the way, right? I know I know everyone wishes on their first game in the big leagues that you get the big home run or even a base hit, just something positive to kind of hang your hat on. It didn't happen that way for Drew Romo, but I think the biggest thing was that you got that first game out of the way. Those first game jitters are no longer a thing, and you can just say, all right, now I get to go settle in and go play baseball like I've been doing since I was 5, And so I'm excited to see Drew Romo. He's got a lot of potential, and I'm excited to see how he pans out. And I wanted to say, though, because we saw him on Saturday, and we didn't see him on Sunday. And now Bud Black did say before the game that, he's not going to get all the playing time. It's just kind of up to him on, what his experience level shows. But Bud Black shows why I think some people have an issue with Bud Black fitting into the Rockies rebuild right now, because Bud Black is a veteran-heavy manager. And what I mean by that is Bud Black puts a lot of faith in the players that he can trust. So he has a hard time really committing to the young guys like a Drew Romo until they've given him enough to earn that spot. Now, I agree with the earning the spot idea, but I think when you're in a place in your franchise right now where you're kind of just having to let guys fail and make some mistakes or earn that spot by just process of getting quantity of appearances, getting the reps, you've got to kind of let them get more into that. We've seen Bud Black historically pair up in the catching and pitching world a veteran catcher or a veteran pitcher with a rookie catcher or a rookie pitcher, or young and old, young versus old, young with old. And we saw that on Sunday where Drew Romo got his MLB debut on Saturday. He was paired with veteran pitcher Kyle Freeland. And then Bradley Blaylock, who was only his second start in the big leagues on Sunday, was paired with Jacob Stallings, who was a veteran catcher. I understand why you do that, but I don't agree with the way that fits into the Rockies organization and the way the franchise is headed today, because I think it takes a lot of pressure off guys to pair two rookies together. When you say, hey, look, we're both in this together. Like neither of us have had extensive years playing in the big leagues. So we're both trying to figure this out. Bradley Blaylock threw a gem on the mound for the Rockies. We're going to talk about that, after this next segment. But Drew Romo got the jitters out with that first debut and then had to sit the bench the next day. And now has an opportunity to probably get his first big league hit, home run, get on base, whatever that looks like, on the road. And I would have loved to have seen that at Coors Field, selfishly, and I also think confidence-wise for Drew Romo. So I disagreed with Bud Black's decision to do that. And I wasn't the only one in the press box that disagreed with that as well. I think Bud played that a little too conservatively. I would have liked to see him be more aggressive with Drew Romo. And Jacob Stallings actually had a pretty good game, but Stallings isn't the future of your team, and Bud knows that. I would have liked to seen him give a little bit more run time to Drew Romo before they took the road. So that was my only issue that I had with the management of Drew Romo. But excited to see Drew Romo out there. We're going to see him a lot more as they get set to take on the Washington Nationals coming up here tomorrow. Starting tomorrow. They got a day off today, and then they go on the road to take on the Nationals tomorrow. But we got to talk about our friends over at Coors Light before we go any further, because it was a hot weekend for Rockies fans. Yesterday's Sunday day game, it was in the mid-90s. Jordan Beck knows everything about that. We're going to talk about him in a moment with his experience of that hot weather. But, for the fans out there, they were needing a lot of cool downs because it was blindingly sunny and 95 degrees pretty much the entire game. And really, it's going to be like that the rest of the season for the Rockies. I would expect it's going to be hot and dry the rest of the year. But you know how you cool yourself down on days like that? You head up to the rooftop at Coors Field, you pick up a cold, refreshing Coors Light. There is nothing better. And when you embrace that chill mindset, Coors Light is the place to go. There are plenty of chances in life to make things better by choosing to chill, and that's just a perfect example of one of those ways. But also, if you're not at the ballpark, you can have plenty of other chances to choose chill and embrace that chill mindset. You can go out and grab a beer with friends, going camping or going hiking. You go out fishing. You go to your favorite bar downtown. I stopped by a local brewery before the game with my mom on Saturday or on Friday, I should say. And we both got a Coors Light. That was very refreshing. So Coors Light, that's your go-to light beer when you head out to the ballpark or do anything out in these summer months. So make the most of the times you choose to chill. Choose Coors Light. Get Coors Light delivered straight to your door with Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Please celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company, Golden, Colorado. Also, got to share some love with our friends at Bet365. Bet365 is the premium sports betting company, and at Bet365, we don't do ordinary. They believe that every sport should be epic, and right now, new customers can choose between two offers when you open an account at Bet365. Use code DNVR365 to sign up, deposit $10, and choose between either a bet and get offer or a first bet safety not bet offer. But I got to talk about their MLB early payout offer. With Bet365 early payout offer, you're a winner if your team goes 5 runs ahead with an instant payout. Parlay and same game parlay selection will be marked as winners. Download the Bet365 app. Use code DNVR365 when you sign up and check out why it's never ordinary at Bet365. Must be 21 or older and physically located in Colorado. Please gamble responsibly. If you or someone you know has a gambling problem and wants help, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. All right. What got Todd Helton into the Major League Baseball? What motivated him the most? That was one of the questions we asked as we continue our coverage of Todd Helton Week here at DNVR. We asked Todd Helton, what was one of the things that kind of sparked your motivation? Because we all know that he was a former football player, kind of turned into a baseball player. And we also know Todd was pretty intense. Todd was a pretty intense player. So he shared a story about what a coach said to him that kind of kickstarted his ferocity in the big league level. Kale, let's line that up.
Back in the day, they didn't sugarcoat things. He looked at me and he said, "Son, you may be able to hit in the big leagues, but with your defense, you probably won't make it." And I don't know if he meant that or if he was trying to motivate me, but it certainly did motivate me, and I worked my butt off. And it's probably why the 3 Gold Gloves are my most cherished trophies.
I would say he would have probably added a World Series trophy up to that most cherished trophy locker if they had gotten one. But yeah, that's kind of your Michael Jordan moment, getting cut from getting, not making the varsity team when he was in high school and being like, all right, that's never going to happen again. That's Todd Helton's Michael Jordan moment. A coach tells him, hey man, you're never going to be that guy. And he says, watch me. I'll be that guy. I wonder if that coach is still watching him today and saying, "Oh, like I know that was me. That's me he was talking about." But either way, whoever that coach was, thank you for that. You gave Rockies fans a lot of great years of baseball because of that comment. Speaking of great years of baseball, we did ask Todd about the current Rockies right now. Obviously, they're not where they want to be, and he did say that. He did say he expects a little bit more from this Rockies team and in the future of the Rockies, which is good to hear. And it was good to hear that in front of Dick Monfort, who was in the press room as well. But we asked him, about one of our favorite Colorado Rockies player, and Charlie Blackmon, and does he think that Charlie Blackmon deserves to have his number retired for the Colorado Rockies? I think a lot of people could make an argument for that. And this is what Todd Helton said in regards to if he thinks Charlie Blackmon's number should be retired for the Rockies.
I mean, I was doing TV last night and they threw up his stats organizationally, where he ranked. I mean, how do you not put him up there? And if you throw on top of that the type of guy he was or is, and what he has meant to his teammates, he deserves to be up there.
Yeah, it's an argument we'll have at a different day because I think there's some stock on both sides. You could say, Charlie Blackmon is a forever Rocky as well, and he deserves to have his number retired, and I think there's a legitimate argument for that. And I think there's people out there that can make the argument that hey, look, he just never did enough. He was only an All-Star 2 times. He's had some ups and down seasons. I think personally he will end up getting his number retired. I won't go into whether or not I agree with that. That is a topic for another podcast. But Charlie Blackmon, there's no doubt that he is deserving of at least a conversation for that. And Todd Helton makes a good point that his numbers, in a lot of ways can reflect that. And the type of person he is, he definitely reflects a forever Rocky, as Todd Helton is as well. And so Charlie Blackmon will go down as one of the best Rockies to have played, in this era of Colorado Rockies, that's for sure. And I love to see the credit that Todd Helton gave to Charlie Blackmon, because Charlie Blackmon and Todd Helton are pretty close, and I know Todd loves Charlie as a person, as a player. I think he loves the discipline that Charlie plays with. So really cool to see him talking about Charlie Blackmon with that. But that's our Todd Helton press conference. So many cool clips. We do have some more clips up on our DNVR Rockies Twitter. If you missed any of that, be sure to head over there and check out some of that, because it was a really cool thing for him. And I also know if you missed some of the speeches that were going on too during that initial introduction, Ryan Spilbor, Spilly gave us a pretty good speech as well. And so head over to his Twitter online and check out some of the other content that happened from around the weekend. If you missed this weekend in Rockies baseball for all the festivities, be sure to check that out, because it was a good time. Well, speaking of good times, I've got to talk about Sunday, because Sunday the Rockies won the series against the Padres. They took the victory 3-2 and beat one of the best teams in baseball. That is the first series loss that the Padres have had since before the All-Star break. So put that into perspective for Rockies fans and Padres fans. The Rockies are not an easy team to play at Coors Field. That did propel them to almost 500 record at home, by the way. Just wanted to throw that out there. But if you weren't paying attention, I gotta share something with you. Jordan Beck had a very interesting moment when he got onto first base. Jordan Beck, recently called back up to the big leagues after doing a little bit of rehab down in the minors. And he was called back up to the bigs. This is his first home series back at Coors Field. He gets back to Coors on Sunday. He gets on first base. Aaron Schunk, who's in the lineup right now, he's hitting behind Jordan Beck. Jordan Beck's at first base, and they put the hit and run on. So they say, okay, Jordan, you're going to try to steal second. Schunk, you're going to try to just get the ball through. And what ended up happening was, it was a 12-pitch at-bat for Aaron Schunk. And 8 of those pitches in a row, Jordan Beck was attempting to steal second base, in which the ball was fouled off 8 times in a row. So Jordan Beck sprinted to second base 8 times in a row. Let's set the scene here. It is 95 degrees. You are playing at Coors Field for the first time in months for Jordan Beck. And then at the end of that, Aaron Schunk ends up hitting a double that scores Jordan Beck from first base all the way home. So I did, I didn't do the math. Logan Donovan on Twitter, I got to give credit to Logan Donovan, did the math. 8 100% effort sprints equals 720 feet plus 720 feet of jogging back to first base after finding out that Schunk fouled the ball off. Let's just say he's at about 50% jog back to first base. And 360 feet of running from first to home at 100%. That is 1,720 feet total of running, or just over 5.5 football fields worth of sprinting in less than 3 minutes for Jordan Beck. The dude was winded after that. Like, they showed a clip of him in the dugout because, of course, the players are totally dogging him after he gets back to the dugout, and he was laying on the bench in the dugout, drenched in sweat, and Tolia is fanning him off with a towel. I mean, that was a pretty baller move there by Jordan Beck, but I don't think he wanted to step foot on the field again after that. I think he was pretty much ready to be done from that point on. But good on Jordan Beck. He got his conditioning in for the day. But another player I wanted to talk about is our Live Extraordinary Player of the Game presented by UC Health. Bradley Blaylock, have yourself a debut at Coors Field. His first official outing at Coors Field, only his second start in the big league level. He went 5 2/3 innings pitched, 6 hits, 1 earned run, 3 walks, and 2 strikeouts. Not the greatest stats, but when you look at the fact that you're playing the Padres, he fully kept the Rockies in the game, and the Rockies only scored 3 runs. And Shiviji came in and gave up a run, and I believe it was Shiviji who gave up the run. Regardless, the Rockies bullpen ended up giving up one more run, but you held the red-hot San Diego Padres to only 2 runs across their entire game, and your team put up a 3 spot, a 3-2 victory for the Rockies. Bradley Blaylock, have yourself a day, bud. Welcome to Coors Field. Love to have you out there. He also threw a very good game, I should add, in his Major League debut as a starter against the Diamondbacks. They ended up losing that game, but he only gave up 3 earned runs over, again, 5 2/3 innings. Bradley Blaylock, we are loving having him up at the big league level for the Rockies. And I know it's early, but he might be a really solid addition to this Rockies starting lineup coming in as a starter. So good to have Bradley Blaylock out there. Shout out to him as our UC Health Live Extraordinary Player of the Game. Head to uchealth.org/tomorrow and take care of your mental health today so you can live better tomorrow. We hope to be seeing him a lot in our future tomorrows as well. I want to talk about Todd Helton Day in a different angle, but I want to talk about what Todd Helton Day meant to Dick Monfort, because Dick Monfort was in the building. I don't know if we saw that, but he was out there with Peyton Manning before the game, and I'm going to talk about that here in a moment. But first, we got to share some love with one of our favorite sponsors, Chinook Seedery. Chinook Seedery, they are the premium best seeds on the market. You see there on the screen, they are the best seeds ever, and that is not an understatement. They have quality ingredients that have some amazing flavors. They don't leave a bad taste in your mouth after you eat them. They are just truly phenomenal seeds, and some unique one-of-a-kind flavors that you can't get anywhere else. I mean, cinnamon toast, I still want to go through and try all these flavors and kind of like a blind tasting to see if we can get the flavors correct on these, because they are truly one-of-a-kind flavors. They've got original lemon pepper, jalapeno ranch, Parmesan and pepper, cinnamon toast, dill pickle, hatch green chili, and smokehouse barbecue. Get a sampler pack to try all 8 of those flavors. They are the largest seeds on the market. Head over to ChinookSeedery.com using code ROCKIES for 20% off your order. They are the best seeds ever. Well, folks, if you're like me, that means you like to get ahead with your money and really manage your money well. That's why I recommend using Premier Members Credit Union. They're a financial institution based right here in our home state of Colorado. And with PMCU, you get local branches, friendly tellers, and the tools you need to save smarter, like the reverse tier money market. I mentioned that, we're starting to get close to fall. The new year is kind of right around the corner. So why wait till the new year, though, to get your finances in order? Start making some small adjustments today. And like I said, whatever your goals are with PMCU, with Premier Members Credit Union, they can help. PMCU is all about creating a better banking experience for their community. So why not see what they can do for you? Check out becomepremier.com to learn more. All right, I want to go back to this Todd Helton day one more time because I mentioned that Dick Monfort was in the building, and I don't know if he watches all the games. I don't know if he's there for a lot of the games. He's probably a pretty busy man, but he was there for Todd Helton Day. And can I just say, that was probably the worst possible outcome from a game standpoint that he could ever have hoped for. Because the Rockies truly put out one of the most boring games I've seen all year. And look, I know the Rockies aren't good. None of us were expecting to, for the Rockies to come up and, make a bid for the playoffs starting Todd Helton weekend. But you got 50,000 fans showing up to the ballpark. You've got Peyton Manning in the house. A lot of national eyes are on the Colorado Rockies. You've got the debut of a young catcher in Drew Romo, a highly anticipated prospect making his start. And I think the most important aspect to think of is the fact that you had probably a lot of true diehard Colorado Rockies fans showing up at the ballpark because this matters to people who love the Rockies as a team, not just liking Coors Field, not just liking the fireworks night, not just liking the rooftop bar. I'm talking people who love the Colorado Rockies and are actual Rockies fans. They showed up on Saturday, and they got to witness one of the most boring games that the Rockies have played. And the Rockies lost. There was basically no offense for the Rockies. Kyle Freeland had an off game. He even admitted it after the game. And we saw really what the Rockies have been all season. We just get bits and pieces of, the beauty of baseball with the Colorado Rockies every once in a while when they play at Coors Field, because they're very good at Coors Field. And you can put a bow tie on a lot of those games with a nice firework display at the end and say, oh my gosh, look, this is what you get. Keep showing up to Coors Field. And I'm not debating that either. I'm not saying don't keep showing up. I love, even though that we're a losing team, that we still, pack the stands and get to have a good atmosphere for baseball. Personally, I love that. But I think this game probably pissed off Dick Monfort because I think this was a moment where he said, I am praying that the Rockies have a walk-off home run, and everyone who loves the Rockies, all the eyes of the national media who are watching this game for Todd Helton, and Todd Helton and his family who are very picky and very intense about how their expectations of where they expect the Rockies to be at, they're all watching, and you laid a big, fat, boring game out there on the field. So you could take that as you want as the fan, but I will say I think that was a very big bummer for Dick Monfort in his time, with the Colorado Rockies. So again, I'm just laying my own take out there on that. Take that for as you will, but kind of a bummer that was the one loss for the Rockies in that entire weekend because there was a lot of hype around that game. A lot of production went into it as well. So take that as it was. Kale, I got to share a wild story with you because I want to go back to Friday. I have never seen something like this happen. So my mom and I are going to the game on Friday because she's in town visiting from Seattle. And so we got tickets on the third base side of the stadium because we wanted to be in the shade. So we're in the Padres section, truly. And there's this group of frat guys who are behind us on some college trip, 10 Padres fans all behind us, having a great time, drinking a lot. And there's this one fan sitting in front of us. He kind of has the whole row to himself, and he's in this $5 Padres shirt. And you know how, like, at the end of an inning, Manny Machado at third base gets the ball. He throws the ball into the stands, and, you know, like, the Padres fans all fight over the ball. So Machado chucks the ball up into the stands. The guy in the $5 Padres shirt in front of me jumps up, and he runs over, you know, and he pushes other Padres fans out of the way, and he catches the ball. But he's wearing a Padres shirt. So, like, everyone's kind of thinking, like, oh, you know, okay, whatever. He got it. Like, good for him. You know, Padres fan got the ball. He goes and sits down, and within seconds, he takes his Padres shirt off, and he has a Colorado Rockies jersey on under his Padres shirt. So he effectively went up there saying, hey, Manny, I'm a Padres fan. Throw me the baseball. And Manny threw him the ball because he had the Padres shirt on. And then he goes and sits down after getting the ball and takes his shirt off, and it's all Rockies gear underneath. And the Padres fans behind me were pissed. And so they're like, they see this guy do that, and they're like, dude, did you just wear a Padres shirt just to get the ball? And this guy was kind of awkward, kind of nerdy. And he was like, yeah, I don't care about the Padres. Like, I wanted the ball. And they were like, dude, we're going to throw beer at you, like, right now. Like, we're going to pour beer on you. Like, that's, like, what are we, in elementary school? And my mom and I are sitting there like, you know, we don't have any skin in the game for this whole fight going on. And my mom and I are like, oh my God, we're going to be in the middle of this here in a second. And these drunk Padres, like, frat party going on behind us, they were heckling him the entire rest of the game. So I wanted to know what you think, Kale, because I'm like, that's the craziest thing. Like, that was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. And the dude just whips off his shirt and goes into Rockies mode instantly after getting this baseball. And, like, is it fair that he got the hate that he got? Because
I don't know if he deserved to have beer poured on him.
He didn't get beer poured on him, but they were ready to. I think if they were sitting right behind him, they would have.
I mean, that's a pretty. I gotta be honest. Even as a Rockies fan, that's pretty lame. That's pretty lame. But, like, did he deserve beer poured on him? I don't know. But like, that's a weird thing to do.
It was very weird. I had never seen that before.
Like, I'll just say that's weird. Like, why?
I mean, he was an adult dude who was like, and he was like, I mean, you had to be like in his 40s.
Man doing that?
Adult man doing that. And he was like pushing over Padres kids, you know, to get the ball. And then the thing that I had an issue with was, I'm like, dude, wait till, like, the next inning to take the shirt off. You know, like, you kind of brought that on yourself because you whipped that shirt off into Rockies mode the second you got the baseball. Like, you know, people are going to see that. You know, people are going to be like, hey, man, like, why are you trying to manipulate? You're sitting in a Padres section, too. Like, what do you expect is going to happen? So, I don't know. That was just a crazy story. I had never seen that before, but whatever. He got the ball. It was a commemorative baseball. It did have the Todd Helton, you know, the little, here it is, the Todd Helton symbol on it. Oh,
gotcha.
So he did say that was, like, why he was really trying to do that. But again, why not go to the Rockies side and do that and wear your Rockies jersey over there?
Being a grown man, yeah, that's just a weird thing for a grown man to do.
It is. It was a really weird thing, but he got the ball. So hopefully it was worth it, random baseball guy. Yeah, weird stuff. Let's talk baseball around MLB before we wrap this thing up. I don't know if you guys saw the Yankees and the Tigers faced off in the Little League Classic. Had they done that before? I don't know if they've done that before. I didn't really pay attention to some of those, like, promotional games. I think this was the first time they did the, like, official game at the, like, Little League facilities. Basically what it was is, you know, they got to play in front of a Little League crowd. You know, it was all the Little League kids getting to watch this game. It was a walk-off, so that was pretty cool. And all the Little League kids got to celebrate in this big walk-off. But what was crazy to me was the fact that the players actually got to go watch these Little Leaguers play. And there was a clip that you know, these Little League kids, I don't know, what are they, like 12? These are kids. These are little kids. One of these little kids is warming up. He's getting ready to pitch. He's warming up, you know, underneath the stadium in the bullpen. And all of a sudden, Aaron Judge and a couple of the Yankees just, like, walk into the room and just show up and start watching this 12-year-old's bullpen. And I can say, if I was that kid, as a, you know, little, you know, 12-year-old kid throwing a bullpen, and all of a sudden I turn around and Charlie Blackmon and, Nolan Arenado back in the day, Carlos Gonzalez, Todd Helton, just standing behind me, watching me throw, I think I might have shit my pants right then and there. Like, I think that would have been the crazy. I don't think I would have thrown a strike.
Yeah, that would have been pretty crazy.
That would have been one of the craziest things to ever happen to me. And it probably would have carried into the game. I would have gone out there like, oh my God, this is insane. So good on that kid for keeping it together, because he did finish his bullpen, and they were dapping him up after that and stuff. And that is a memory that will live on for the rest of that kid's life. That kid will never ever forget that moment. So that's pretty cool. The Mariners and the Mets are going to be the teams that are doing the Little League Classic next year. If the Mariners have any fans left after their disaster of a season this year, then that'll be cool for Mariners fans and Mets fans as well. We did have the last ever Bay Bridge battle, Oakland A's versus the San Francisco Giants. The last time that historic matchup will ever be played at the Oakland Coliseum. My cousin was actually at that game, and so that's history, whether you care about the Giants and A's or not. History was made, and I did see some of the players were actually going out after the game and taking dirt off the field and putting it in like Tupperwares, because that's something that 20 years from now you can say, whether you were a meaningful piece of that team or not, you can say like, I was on the team, I was in the game that happened the last time a game was ever played at the Oakland Coliseum, a historic site in Major League Baseball. So that was pretty cool. We did have our Players Weekend as well. City Connect, the Players Weekend bats were out there. We had some pretty crazy bats being drawn out. The pink crayon bat, a pencil bat, an Avengers bat. Jackson Merrill had a glow-in-the-dark lightsaber bat. I know the glow-in-the-dark part of it probably didn't matter, because obviously you're not playing baseball in the dark, but that's pretty cool. I would have loved to have seen, a glow-in-the-dark ball, not a baseball, but just a ball, go up against a glow-in-the-dark bat. Like, that would be pretty cool. So Jackson Merrill with the Padres had a pretty cool bat. Bryce Harper let his kids color in his bat. But my favorite was the Cal Raleigh Bring 'em Back Sonics bat. That, as growing up in Seattle, the bat design itself was kind of whatever. But, I moved to Seattle when the Sonics were still there right before they left to Oklahoma City. And ever since then, I just grew up without a basketball team. I didn't have an NBA team to root for in Seattle anymore. And so we always had this dream that one day the Sonics would make the comeback, when I was still living in Seattle, and they never did. We did get the Kraken, but I had moved to Colorado already. So go Avalanche, because, the Kraken mean nothing to me since I left Seattle before they were even a thing. But I always had a hope that the Sonics would make the comeback, and they never did. So Cal Raleigh putting out his best effort to bring the Sonics back to the city of Seattle, who whether you are a Seattle fan or not, the Seattle deserves a basketball team. I would love to see the Nuggets play in Seattle. One of the best sports and basketball cities on the West Coast, even though they don't have a team. So that was pretty cool to see Cal Raleigh. For the Rockies, Ezekiel Tovar had the I am Tovi bat, based off the I am Groot Avengers whole getup. That was kind of cool. Doyle had a Mountain Dew bat. That was by far my favorite. It just looked like a Mountain Dew can. There's nothing fancy about it. It was just green with a ton of kind of crystal type designs on it. Super cool. Super cool to see him swing that. Hilliard had a Texas themed bat. Tolia, the Italian flag. Aaron Schunk had a fly fishing bat, my personal favorite. Some cool bats that we saw out there. And I know the players enjoyed the fun player weekend. So look, it was a blast this weekend. We had such a good time with the Players Weekend. Todd Helton, Drew Romo making his debut. And now the Rockies have a day off, and they get to play the Washington Nationals starting tomorrow on the road. They go on a road stretch. They do not come back home and play at Coors Field until Monday. So you got some time to wait. We're going to be talking baseball all week, though. Our show's Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. Mountain Time right here at the DNVR studios. My super producer, Kale. Thank you as always, Kale, from our team here at DNVR. I am Christian Saez. You can find me online on Twitter and social media at CJJ Saez. You can find us on Twitter on the Rockies Twitter at DNVR_Rockies. But as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in. This has been the DNVR Rockies podcast brought to you by Bet365. We'll see you Wednesday at 10 a.m.
We all silly like the mayor.